Doubt the recording actually caught any of the song at all. Where are we? There we are. Good Lord. It is Friday night in covidland, ladies and gentlemen. It is currently just past the 10 o'clock hour at the Giant Granite Phallus in the District of Criminals, which means that it is once again time to open up the lines. It's Friday night open lines, y'all. It is your chance to be a part of Liberty Radio. Let us know what is on your mind tonight. What do you need to get off of your chest? What is sticking in your craw? And good Lord, why have you let it stay there for so long? Go ahead and get rid of it. Unload it in our broadcast and leave it in the past where it belongs. It is your chance to take over the airwaves and say whatever you want. That's what Open Lines is all about. The link is in the Liberty Radio Telegram channel, also known as the Newsy channel, as well as the Liberty Radio Discord server, and scattered around to the various normal dark corners of the interwebs. To see what characters might show up this evening for Open Lines. It's always an adventure. And we're actually getting started a little bit late this evening, thanks to some black acid that we dropped earlier in the broadcast. Let's see. Oh, quick programming note before we go any further this evening. Just want to remind everyone that 7 days from right now, as a matter of fact, so next Friday, March 14th, Mercury begins its next retrograde cycle. Hope everyone is ready. Y'all have fun with that. I don't think we'll be back on the air once we go on spring break until Mercury comes out of retrograde. I'll have to double check the calendar on that, but I think it was purposely set up that way, if I'm not mistaken. But it, based on what we've seen of 2025 so far, it should be a fun 3.5 weeks. I think it is. It's probably going to be a fucking gauntlet in March this year. It's right in line with what we expected. So, again, Liberty Radio, fuck it. We ball all the way to 2030, come hell or high water. All right. So phone lines are open. Again, you don't have to come on camera if you don't want to. You will need to turn on your microphone, though. We would like to hear you and hear what you have to say. That's kind of the whole point, ladies and gentlemen. So let's see. While we're waiting for our first caller, I did notice that there's actually been 2 new episodes of Improbably Poppy since the last one that we caught. And I was thinking, why, as long as we're waiting around for somebody to get on the horn, why don't we just go ahead and check out the latest from Poppy? It's only like 15 minutes. It's real quick. It's short.
Probably Poppy.
Hey, who picked on me? As planned, I'd like to introduce our new bassist. Welcome to the Improbably Poppy family. I'm Poppy.
Hi, Poppy!
What are you going to do today, Poppy?
I want to watch my friends play Spin the Bottle.
Yeah, all right!
My first
all
kiss!
right!
And my second.
I played 7 Minutes in Heaven with my brother's babysitter once.
But, Zwink, you told us you used to babysit your brother.
And the best part, I'm gonna watch the whole thing.
Yay!
Now just wash your
And
hands
record
and
it.
then we can get started.
But why the do you want to do that, Poppy?
Why would you wash your hands before engaging in sexual contact with someone who isn't a trusted monogamous partner? Do I need to go over there and pull your puppet hairs and stick them up your butt and teach you a lesson about hygiene?
No, Poppy.
I have good news and I have bad news. The bad news is Spit in the Bottle is canceled until you all learn a valuable lesson in health and hygiene. The good news is I'm going to dedicate the next 14 to 16 minutes to teach you a valuable lesson in health and hygiene.
Yay! Poppy! Poppy! Poppy!
Welcome to another episode of Is It Cake with Human Remains. Tonight, one lucky contestant will help us determine which of our 3 cakes is a dead person and which 2 are cakes.
I'm ready, Poppy.
You'll get 1 guess per cake, so I suggest guessing correctly. Blindfold, handcuff, and C-47 him arm Santas. Correct guesses earn $100 US. Incorrect guesses earn 100 yen. So, Skeeter, are you ready to tell us, is it cake with human remains?
I'd like to try this one, Poppy.
Skeeter has opted to taste cake number 3. You really think this is one of the not dead loser cakes, Skeeter?
I do, Poppy.
I hope you're right. Arm Santas?
This is definitely cake.
Ooh, all 3 are human remains. That's our bad.
Poppy, you got me!
And we're back. Something I... hello? I'm trying to host a show here.
Sorry, Poppy. I'm sad.
Oh no, what's wrong?
Someone started a rumor about me.
Well, what's a rumor? Because sometimes rumors can be true.
People have been saying that I don't have any pubes.
Mr. Skip, that's terrible. I'm gonna get to the bottom of this rumor.
Yeah!
And when you're done, maybe you could find out who started that rumor about me having a sideways pussy.
Here I go. Wish me luck. A clue. So, Brad,
Bart,
does Mr. Skip have pubes?
I heard they didn't.
Getting nowhere.
I heard you're looking for information about a certain rumor, about a certain puppet's pubes, or lack thereof.
What's it to you?
Well, I may or may not have some information that might interest you, if that's of interest to you.
Name your price.
Well, Wifey and I have been jonesing for a little date night this month, but no babysitter means nobody's gonna look after the little ones.
I don't do diapers.
They change their own diapers.
Home by midnight and they're in bed by 9.
You got a deal.
What you got?
You're gonna want to sit for this.
I'm sitting. Who started the rumor?
You did, Poppy. You've been telling everybody he has no pubes. Several people have told you to be more discreet, but you just keep saying it. Was that helpful?
Incredibly. I've cracked the case.
So I'll see you Saturday?
And my fingers crossed, chump.
What a woman.
Did you find out anything?
Shut up, you dirty sock. What are you, 5?
What a woman.
Joining us today is Dr. Nicholson, a board-certified obstetrician and gynecologist. Thank you for joining us.
Happy to be here, Poppy. Okay.
So, how's it look down there? I figured I might as well get some more bang for my buck.
Unfortunately, I can't perform an examination on you right now.
Are you serious? That should be illegal.
I'm sorry.
Just do it.
Can't.
So, what inspired you to become an OBGYN? And don't tell me it's the snatch.
Well, women's health is traditionally a field that's been neglected and under-researched. I wanted to have some sort of impact closing the healthcare disparities between...
Yada, 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 yada. So what's a labia minora? Is it this? All things are in process, rising and returning. Plants come to blossom, but only to return to the root. Returning to the root is like seeking tranquility. Seeking tranquility is like moving towards destiny. To move towards destiny is like eternity. To know eternity is enlightenment. And not to recognize eternity brings disorder and evil. And they all lived happily ever after. The end.
Aww.
What's it smell?
Ugh, it smells like gaping. I think we found the source of the smell.
Zwink, you stink.
Swink, what happened?
Oh, I don't know. I guess I've just been feeling a little down lately. I just don't give a rat's ass anymore.
Sounds to me, Swink, like you gotta learn to practice some self-care.
Self-care? What's that?
Practicing good hygiene. Good hygiene will help you feel so much better. You'll get the hang of it in no time. Let's get you cleaned up.
Yeah! All right! Not now, Mom! Mom, don't come in here!
Get this fresh and clean, gentlemen.
Zwink don't stink no more.
It doesn't smell like gape. More like closed now.
Oh, what's wrong, Swink?
I'm all clean now, but I still wasn't able to scrub away my sadness.
Sounds to me like you need meds.
Bottoms up!
Yum, yum.
And remember, Dr. Poppy, the hospital has a very vested interest in this patient surviving. Your tenure depends on it.
I know. I've been studying medicine for days to get this right.
Well, did you read chapter 2? Well, did you?
I was gonna get to that one.
I put my neck out for you, Dr. Poppy. Now I need you to put this guy's neck back in for me, or it's both our asses on the street. If I lose my job, I lose my apartment, and you can kiss your sublet goodbye.
The more you talk, the less likely it is I'll do a good job. Threatening my sublet, you know I don't have good credit. I can't work this way. COVID is over.
Is that bad?
Nope. That's supposed to happen. Fuck, whatever. Squatters' rights.
Am I gonna live?
Oh, fuck, you heard all that? All right, what's it gonna take to make all this go away?
If I live, can I sublet your room?
I'd like that. It is a shared bathroom, though. Is that all right? Why does no one want to share a bathroom with me?
That's our show.
Poppy, I'm more of a visual learner. Is there another way you can concisely summarize the importance of hygiene and health for me?
And I'm more of an audible learner. Is there a way you can concisely summarize it through sound?
No to the former, yes to the latter. Here's a song I wrote just for you. Sometimes when I play outside, I don't smell so nice and I feel a little dirty, a little bit like a garbage can or a grown-up man in his late 30s. And no one wants to be the smelly one. It's no fun and it gets lonely. Get up, let's get tidy. If you wanna have friends, then you gotta be clean. Tonight, movie at my house, and my friends are coming over, but I can't find my couch. If it's a mess, they won't be impressed, and I can't relax when it looks like that. And no one wants to be the smelly one. It's no fun, and it gets lonely. Get up, let's get tidy. If you wanna have friends, then you gotta be clean. Clean. If you think you stink, don't take a risk, just ask someone you trust for a sniff test. If you think you stink, don't take a risk, just ask someone you trust for a sniff test.
That's Poppy, ladies and gentlemen. Definitely one of a kind. Or maybe one of like 10 in the entire world, because there's 8 billion people out there. Damn, even the credit music is jamming. I'll just let it play. Nobody's on the line yet, so it doesn't fucking matter. Nobody's listening. There you go. That might have almost been funnier than what made the final cut. I don't know. Oh, I would really hate to do back-to-back episodes, because then it probably would look like I'm stealing her content. Nah, so we're not going to do that. We're going to find something else in the YouTube adventure roulette wheel. Let's see. Again, lines are open, ladies and gentlemen. It is your forum, your time to do what you want. And looks like somebody is actually taking advantage of that tonight. A Friday night in covidland. How you doing tonight, Rob?
Pretty good, Driz. How's everything going with you?
I'm rocking right along, man. It's we made it up to, what was it, 70, 76, 77 today in the Piney Woods. I was in shorts and a t-shirt. I was loving life, man. It's great.
Very nice. Did you guys get affected by that crazy weather that blew through?
You talking about earlier in the week?
Yeah, earlier in the week. Because it eventually hit us in the East Coast.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was, Yona described it last night as like a giant squeegee that went across the nation over the course of the week, which I think was kind of appropriate, because I remember there was like a wall of water enveloping the house at one point. Like, didn't matter what direction you looked in, you just saw water. That was it. That was interesting. I haven't seen that before. And like half of the area lost power, but I was on the half that didn't. I guess because those repairs that they made back in December actually did something, and lights flickered a couple of times. They even went off at one point for a minute or two. but then came back on. But like half of the town had no power for the rest of the day up until like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, something like that. And this was back around lunchtime when the storm came through.
Yeah, I had heard earlier in the week that it was going to hit you guys and it was going to keep coming through to the East Coast. And it hit us yesterday. And when you looked at the weather map, I'm sure you've seen that red line. And it was like a red line, like going through the whole East Coast, like from almost Maine all the way down to Florida. It was crazy that it was that big. But
that is crazy.
It blew over my house in probably about 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Fortunately, the chickens still living. The house is intact. But
good. How strong were the winds when it came through? Do you know?
I'm not sure about this particular storm, but we had one a couple weeks ago that they said there was like 71 mile an hour wind gusts. And I believe it because I had fortified my chicken run and I was watching the winds blow it because I have plastic on the roof to keep them from getting wet. So it was like a big sail. Fortunately, wow. I put enough 50-pound blocks on top of the corners to keep it down.
Yeah, I was not expecting because I mean I monitor the weather, but I'm not as fanatical with it as I used to be. So I'm basically just looking for like temperatures so that I can plan out things that I want to do outside, and whether or not it's going to rain.
I mean, you pretty much got to wake up every morning and look at what today's forecast is because anything projected out a week or two is.
Hey, I mean, it's always subject to change.
Subject to change, exactly.
But I don't remember them. Maybe I just wasn't looking at the data, at a granular enough level. But I don't remember them calling for that storm. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
I heard them calling for it a couple days before it hit you guys.
Did you?
Yeah, there's some dude on YouTube who's a weather guy, an amateur weather guy, I'll say. And I mean,
aren't they all really?
Well, yeah. I mean, when you can't predict tomorrow and you go up on the screen and confidently predict the next day, I'm not sure what you would call that from a sociological perspective.
It could be semi-professional, I don't know. I would think that you'd have to have your success rate at a certain level in order to call yourself a professional. Like you'd have to be on the north side of 50% at the very least, I would think.
I mean, how would you explain our whole Congress and Senate then? Because they're kind of like on the other side of that spectrum, where it comes into our perspective.
Well, I think it's probably we're judging them by the wrong spectrum. We should be going by the one that they use to judge us by, which is intelligence quotient, and they're still on the losing end of that discussion. So.
I just wish that I had taken $20 since I was 20 years old and invested it into the stuff that Nancy Pelosi does that's publicly available for everybody else. And just, kept my mouth shut and just kept investing. And I'd probably be retired by now, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm not that greedy. I'm not like these people who need $1 trillion. Like how much do you really fucking need to just go be happy and comfortable the rest of your life and your family?
You don't need much. I remember that was a question that I remember hearing a lot back in the 1980s. Because I think that was right around the time I started paying attention to, there's you're going to be expected to work and there's this whole money system and you should probably learn how that works as best you can because ain't nobody taught you about it up to this point at all. But Back in the 80s, it was like a couple million and you're good. You just stick that in something that has a high yield on it and you just live off the interest the rest of your life. You'll be fine. You'll never want for anything. But of course, that was at the value of the dollar in the 1980s. So I don't know, maybe by today's standards.
Well, that's a different standard, really. Like that's the person who just wants to be left alone and enjoy themselves and make sure that their family's secure. Like the other people, the ones that like go past that point, like power must be their motivator. Like having some type
Well,
of
absolutely.
ability to pull the strings on the rest of the walking, talking monkeys out there.
Well, yeah.
It's
I mean, money is power. Money is leverage. Money is a multi tool. The things that you can do with it are literally endless because you can turn it into all sorts of things. Like it is literally itself the philosopher's stone because it fucking transmutes energy.
well, that's the joke of it. It's all fake paper because there's no backing of it other than the faith of the U.S. government. I mean, at one point it was gold, and people could actually trade their shit in for gold. But now it's just the faith that these criminals that we've put in charge of everything, or they've actually put in charge by giving us a false dialectic of
Yeah.
who we can elect.
Well, I mean, it's supposedly based off of GDP and all the bullshit with the U.S. dollar being the reserve currency because forever it was the only currency that could be used for trading oil, and it propped up so many other nations around the world in the process.
It should also go to show the rest of the people who aren't in the know that like that was at the force of the U.S. military was the reason that people would accept our dollar without any kind of backing for it. So like we're kind of fading into the end of that era where our military force isn't as scary as it used to be to the rest of the world. So like we can let Israel or Ukraine or whatever proxy do our dirty work while we fund it. But I mean, who's the U.S. going to attack at this point?
I mean, there is no one for. I mean, we could attack Mexico. We could decimate Mexico, no problem. Probably Canada too. If we wanted to, we could probably take both of those countries by force, and nobody would do a damn thing about it.
Yeah, and it would be taken by the world as if like one of us just kicked somebody over in a wheelchair and stole their groceries.
Yeah.
That's kind of like world opinion is a thing. Like as much as the rulers want to pretend like the people don't have a say in things, like give them something that's indisputable and horrible, and they may just react.
Or they may not.
I mean, COVID showed us people that just, I don't know. I don't want to disparage the large number, the percentage of the population that went along with it. But as someone who had been paying attention to like the fuckery going on in society since, the 90s, it was not like, it didn't even take fucking a couple minutes to understand what they were trying to push out to the rest of the people. And to try to relay that to people was nearly impossible because you're not a scientist, you're not a doctor. But we'll believe Bill Gates when he goes on TV and talks about shit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was the thing that probably more than anything else really kind of, got my whole radar up at the very beginning was just the way they were being so coercive about everything, Well,
like, if you had taken any time to like read anything about logic or propaganda, even like it was so over the top.
Yeah.
When they start offering you free things to go to coerce you into doing something.
Well, yeah, by the time we got there, because again, that's after almost a full year of the operation itself to convince everyone on the planet that there's a killer pathogen on the loose and y'all need to be terrified and listen to what we say.
Well, they also had people turning on their friends and family with the whole idea that if you didn't get it, even if they did, you were a danger to them
and
everybody around them, which is like, the most ridiculous thing ever. It's like, if you take the preventative measure that's supposed to protect you, then you shouldn't care what anybody else does.
But that's how I was always told that it worked. And I'm actually, I've had to think about it. I've actually had to spend time thinking about it the past couple of weeks because of the measles outbreak that's happening in West Texas right now. Possible that could spread east. It's a long distance and it's got to cross some desert in order to do it. But I mean, shit, it's the 21st century. If it could happen anytime, it could happen now, you know?
You know,
And I'm trying to remember, I'm like, did I have the MMR vaccine? I'm getting older. I've heard that shingles is a bitch, you know, like all these things have been going through my mind, even though I know it's highly unlikely that I'm going to come in contact with whatever it is that these people are spreading around amongst themselves.
No, it's pretty unlikely that you would come across it. But it's also pretty likely that sometime in your lifespan, somebody was like, you need this, and nobody questioned it because you were crazy.
Yeah, we went regularly when I was a kid, like 10 years old and younger. We did the regular visits to the pediatrician. We had in our town, we had the local practitioner, you know, who was a pediatrician. That was his practice. Long before the days of HMOs and managed care and all of that bullshit. You know, it was actually when you had individual practices. So I'm sure whatever was on the schedule at that time, we got.
Yeah, pretty much. I know I didn't, because when I grew up, we only went to the doctor if, you know, something was falling off of us.
No.
Or we needed to be stitched up, kind of thing. So it's not really the same as now, where people go for like preventative measures and listen to all this bullshit. You go, you got to have this shot and this shot. I'm sure I had whatever shots that they mandated to be in school at the time. But nowadays, it's like you have to get 72 shots in the course of your childhood.
Yeah, and why is that the magic number? Why is it 72?
I don't want to get into numerology or anything, but that should just be disturbing.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, that should be an alarm bell that goes off in people's heads. Wait a minute. I recognize that number. I've seen it in other places. Why is it popping up here? Like, these are the things that should be happening in people's heads, and apparently they don't.
Well, I mean, I have 3 kids, and like the whole vaccine schedule that they were prescribed, I never even questioned it until they were older, and they started wanting to give them like the HPV and the pneumonia, like all these bullshit ones that were never like a thing when I was a kid, and we didn't get them that stuff. And it's like,
well, it didn't exist when we were kids.
My youngest son, I took him in when he was 16 to get his working papers, and the nurse that came in to like give him the pre-check was like, oh, he needs the pneumonia shot, he needs the HPV shot, and the flu shot, and before COVID, of course. And I was like, are you kidding? You want to give him all these different shots in the same day? I said, how many kids are you guys going to cripple with the HPV shot before it gets taken away? I said, I thought that was already taken, off the market. And
I thought it was too.
She gave like a nervous laugh and just like looked down and probably wrote anti-vax lunatic on the sheet. But he's never been back. He's 20 now. He's never been back to that doctor. So
no, I wouldn't have gone back.
Yeah, I was pretty incredulous that you want to inject somebody with all these different vaccines. Like, the whole point of vaccines, if I understand the science, is you inject something with an adjuvant to activate the immune system or whatever the virus or bacteria or whatever it is you're trying to protect against. And your immune system is supposed to build up a response to it.
Right. As I understand it, so it's supposed to be dead virus, right? With like an adjuvant, which in most of the vaccines, from what I understand, because again, this is not my area of expertise, but I rely on others for information. Typically, it's going to be some sort of metal, and most often aluminum is what's used
Aluminum.
as the adjuvant.
They used to use thermosol, which is the fancy word for liquid aluminum, or I mean liquid mercury. But
Yeah, but the whole reasoning behind it is that they tried it with just the dead viruses or fragments of dead viruses or whatever, and the body wouldn't respond to it. It would just see that it was dead and flush it out. So the adjuvant was added to it to kickstart the immune system, and get it to recognize what it's looking at. Which again, how do they know that that's what's happening inside of the body? How do they actually go about proving that? I've never had that properly explained to me.
I mean, as far as that measles outbreak goes, like I've heard them, point to a few unvaccinated children who got the measles, but they're not really talking about the kids who had gotten their vaccines on schedule, who probably got it as well. Because part of their whole reasoning when they make these vaccines is it's unethical to subject actual children to the stuff that you're vaccinating them against. Because when they did it at one point, they killed a bunch of children. And so that's like a non-starter as far as the trials go. So
that would be with me. Yeah.
How would you ever fucking know if the vaccine protected anybody from whatever disease you're trying to say if you don't introduce that specific?
Exactly. The whole thing is you can't conclusively know unless you do a protracted study.
But you're crazy if you didn't suggest that, Driz.
Oh, I know. Well, again, that's the whole catch-22 of the system, right? Like it was set up specifically for that conflict. I don't. It's clear to me. I could see it when I was working in health insurance. I was like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. This is just, it keeps feeding back on itself. Yeah.
Well, don't worry. They made rules where if you get admitted within a month from the previous condition that you were in the hospital for, Medicare won't pay the bill. So now they've gone about.
It's considered basically like the same visit, the same illness. Like it just continues. Yeah.
So now they just give you
have to go 30 days between hospital visits before it's considered a new visit. Yeah, I remember when they put that shit in.
Now they give you enough steroids so that you don't feel any of the symptoms for at least a month. Yeah. And by then, they can recharge you again.
Now, I have a feeling that what we know as American healthcare is about to be radically different. I think that's the transformation that we're going to see most obviously over the course of the next 5 years.
Yeah, I just saw something the other day that a bunch of hospitals in Pennsylvania are losing, $100 million plus in funding from the NIH with the whole Doge restructuring thing that they're doing. Like the University of Pitt is losing like 140 million. University of Penn is losing like 120 million.
Oh wow.
But I mean, when I heard that, my first thought was that's just one state and that's $250 million. Like there's 50 states. Like how much money does the NIH give out? And
a lot.
What is like I can understand if you're doing some good work, but like what is the accounting on it? Like who's auditing what they're spending?
That's an excellent question. I don't even know if there is a mechanism set up in order to do that.
Like
I
it's the
mean,
whole.
that's part of the problem with the beast that we have that is called government.
Well, part of the problem is it's set up as a eugenics slash technocratic system. And like, at what point do they switch over and tell everybody that they're using a computer to run shit?
Soon.
Like,
I think that comes soon.
I just saw a Truth Stream Media video showing like 23 senators reading the same statement in response to some shit Trump did.
Yep.
And like, I don't, I know there's ignorant people that wouldn't ever like acknowledge that all these people are saying the same thing, but they make it so obvious because it's like they want everybody to know that these people, 23 of what is it, like 46 or 47 Democrats?
Yeah. Do you remember who they were? Were they prominent names? Like, was one of them Chuck Schumer?
Yeah, he was one of them.
Okay. What about AOC?
She's not a senator, so.
Oh, senator. Gotcha.
Yeah, it was just the senators.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
23 of them.
Well, Schumer is significant. I don't know who any of the other Democratic senators are. They're all losers as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it's amazing how they've like twisted that shit in my adulthood. Like, the Democrats used to actually stand for something, and now it's like over the top communism and like no merit for your work. It's just what your color is, or your or your fucking sex, or your sexual orientation. Nobody gives a fuck about the merits of your work. We just want to have a fucking checkbox to fill out for you.
Right.
And like, I know that there's people of every fucking stripe that have skills to do every fucking job. So it's not that I like am hateful of anything like that. But when you make that the basis of your shit, not the merits of your work, but just some checkbox that you can fill out, like, what do you expect to attain from something like that?
Mediocrity.
The demoralization of society, which goes.
Yeah, the further slide into madness is essentially what it is, because once you get the entire population below a specific intelligence level, it's just going to be absolute mayhem. Like, there's not really anything you're going to be able to do to stop it until the bleeding stops.
I tend to think that what they're doing is they're forcing people into the other extreme, self-sufficiency, which is good for the republic in the long run, because eventually their whole system will fail on them, their whole fake financial system, and the people who have been paying attention aren't going to be fazed by it. They're going to have, other options and ways to protect those options. Whereas the typical city dweller is going to be at the whim of whatever the government entity tells them when they're starving after 3 days of no food in their city.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, come get your digital ID and we'll start passing out rations. But you got to have this because we have to be able to identify you so you can get your food. But I mean, the whole thing with the 23 senators and whatever they were doing, I don't know, TikToks or whatever. That's, I don't know if people understand that that's nothing new. That's the way it's always been. They disseminate the talking points to the various people that they know are going to be representing them to the public, and then they go out and they do their spiel. Like, it's as far as I can tell, politics has always been that way. This isn't a new development that happened because we have the internet or we have social media. It's always been this way. That is what politics is. That is the game.
I mean, Carol Quigley summed it up in his book about how the two parties shouldn't be different in any way, and just have minor differences. So every 4 years you can throw the bum out and get somebody else who doesn't necessarily change anything. And, after 4 years, you can throw that bum out. But I think that at this point, they've kind of gotten bored with that. And that's where you get the, reality TV, bombastic, over the top, alpha male representative to piss all over the fake woke movement and to try to make people think that things are going in their direction now.
Well, yeah, because you can't constantly beat a crowd down, right? You can't keep them fully oppressed all the time. You have to allow them a little bit of time to breathe, little bit of time to have fun, even a little bit of time to enjoy themselves, a little bit of time to feel like things are okay before you bring the boot back.
To feel like they won.
Yeah. Yeah, especially that. Yeah, if you're convincing them that they're fighting a battle and that they're going to be the ones on the right side of history and all this other sloganeering bullshit. Oh, absolutely. You have to give them, fucking Sun Tzu says it. Feed into your enemy's ego. Allow them to think they're winning. They will become even more arrogant. And that's when people make mistakes. And sometimes mistakes get people killed. That's the art of war.
It seems like that's the way it's going. What's the next fake national emergency that they're going to declare? Is it the bird flu or some other hocus pocus that they come up with?
Well, it looks like it's going to be war with Iran. If we're to pay attention to what's coming out of the president's mouth.
I haven't been, thankfully. I've kind of divorced myself from the news for the last couple months. I thought it was just going to be a temporary break because it's all meant to trigger you if you're paying attention to the mainstream or the mainstream alternative mainstream that's pumping out their bullshit.
Any of it, in my opinion, really.
Yeah. Everybody's got their fucking opinions. And, when they tell you that it's their opinion and they don't try to present it as fact, I'll accept that. I don't give a fuck what side they're on. When they try to present it as fact, then I have a little problem with it. But if you've been paying attention, as long as most people in this kind of community, it's you're more interested in the rhetoric that these people are talking and, listening to them try to, talk like sophists and spin logical fallacies to you.
A little bit. I'm more doing the documentary type of thing, right? There's been a narrative that has been woven through every Liberty Radio production that continues to this day and will continue on into the future. That if you were to actually take the whole body of work as one, it is literally a time capsule. Because we've been tracking the unfolding of all these various initiatives that they've been working on for centuries, finally being able to bring them to fruition. And we've been documenting every step of the way.
Which is surprising. The fact that they're letting people document it, but
they plan to wipe it out.
I guess at this point they have the control of the narrative, and it doesn't matter who's on the fringes.
They have control of the switch.
People like Ian Carroll, who I've heard all kinds of accusations against the guy, but most of the stuff that I've ever seen from him, he's representing other people's work and bringing it to their attention, whether that's good or bad. He had a large following. Whether it's natural or not, I can't tell you. But I've seen people attacking that guy and this and that. And I don't know. For the most part, the information the dude puts out is 100% solid. And there was just some kerfluffle about stuff that he misrepresented Whitney Webb and he was saying that Mossad was behind, but like that isn't really that big of a deal. I mean, I appreciate her correcting it, but her take was it's part of the National Crime Syndicate, the remnants of that was formed back when the CIA was gaining power and Mossad came into existence and like all. I mean, that's not what she said, but that's my take. Like all these things were coming into existence at the same time and building their power together, because the National Crime Syndicate was working hand in hand with the CIA and the FBI during World War II and after World War II.
Well, after the 1930s, there really was no difference between the mob and the government anymore.
Yeah, there was
even though they continued to portray that, especially in cinema. It was very important to keep portraying in cinema, oh no, the mob is still very much around and they're to be feared. And no, they were an arm of the government by that point.
I mean, it wasn't until the 60s that the FBI director, Hoover, acknowledged that there was an organized crime.
Yeah.
So, like, all the shit that was done before that, he just pretended. I mean, I guess when they got pictures of you sucking your assistant's dick, that you can't really speak out on people too much.
Well, true. The other part of it, though, that's really kind of brilliant is by using the whole popular motif of the mafia in media, television, radio, movies, and all of that shit, books, all of that stuff. They were actually able to provide cover for their own employees who were just getting away with whatever they wanted to. It's amazing. It's absolutely brilliant. When you stand back and you look at the entire operation, because again, average person has no fucking clue that Hollywood's main purpose is to keep them in the dark for their entire lives, if possible. Like, that is the main purpose of Hollywood. That is what it was built for.
How do you feel about Jack Valenti, being put in charge of the Motion Picture Association of America as a reward for?
I mean, if he was one of the shooters, then it makes perfect sense. Why wouldn't you?
I mean, if that's, their whole fucking idea was to control the entertainment industry, whether it be rock and roll music, whatever it was that was popular with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And, Lookout Mountain was, founded around the time that the whole counterculture was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And how much different is Hollywood from that? Did that veer off? Did it become
oh,
what
dude,
Lookout Mountain started as? Because movies and television have had psychological programming since I was a kid.
Yes.
Whether it was positive stuff,
even before that, if you go back and you look at the media that was being produced in the 50s, it's the exact same thing. It's all propaganda. It's just a different flavor of propaganda. They were issuing a different type of programming. People don't understand that the characters that they see in these portrayals on screen are archetypes that they are supposed to attach some sort of significance to, some emotion to, some part of their self to, so that these characters can help them, direct their lives and make decisions and do all of, my favorite movie guy does this, so I'm going to do that too. It's the whole monkey see, monkey do thing. But people think it's just there for their entertainment. They don't understand that there's actually messaging being delivered to them while they're just zoning out.
Yeah, I was just having this conversation with my 20-year-old son the other day, when I was explaining how they use social propaganda programming type of stuff in the television, and sometimes it's positive. Like if you remember, I'm sure you do because you're my age, when they were playing Good Times and like all these black sitcoms to try to normalize relations with white people, to try to show all the racist white people who had been programmed by previous propaganda that it was all right, that these people are just like you, and sometimes everything, your daily scenarios are just the same as theirs as far as these sitcoms go. And like that was an example of like positive social propaganda. And then I went into some of the negative stuff, but it's like they use that on like a level, and like ever since then, once they got race relations kind of normal, there's always going to be the outliers, the racists and all, but once they got the normal everyday person to accept everybody, then they started turning everybody against each other again.
That started that.
It's a crazy cycle.
Yeah, well, it really all began right around 9/11. That was when the shift started to happen. I mean, you could actually go back and probably pinpoint it at the Clinton Lewinsky blowjob, right? that was where things started unraveling as far as the political landscape is concerned. And after 9/11, it just got ratcheted up that much more, where it was the us versus them mentality, and that was being installed everywhere.
I remember like two moments in my like early adulthood. One was Rodney King, and the other was the OJ verdict that turned race relations a little sideways. I mean, when the OJ verdict happened, I was working at a restaurant as a cook, and I had like some black waitress that I got along with. We were like friendly, joked around all the time. And when that shit happened, like we got into some argument about it, to the point that she was threatening to like have some people come see me, kind of thing. And I'm like,
oh, damn.
Fucked up. It's like OJ wouldn't give a fuck about you. But it's amazing how that they can like turn the psychology of people who are like normally friendly, have no beef with each other, get along, and just some polarizing incident that's national news. All of a sudden, people want to have some kind of, beef with each other, even though the underlying issue has nothing to do with you.
I've been trying to figure out, like, what is the best way to communicate this to the largest amount of people in the shortest amount of time. That it's actually the media that you consume that tends to set you up for the problems that you encounter.
Well, I just happened to come across some interview that Alex Jones did with what the hell is his name? Black comedian not Tracy Morgan. He's terrible. Patrice.
Oh, Patrice. Yeah.
And it was from 2010, and he had just come across things at that point in his life. Like one of them was like the Federal Reserve, and understanding the whole concept of what that actually means, a private bank controlling the finances of a government, and the power and control they have over everything.
Yeah.
He said from that, it was very, once he understood that, then it was a lot easier to understand a bunch of other things like eugenics.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that all the information's out there. Like if everybody says go down the rabbit hole for this or that, but like all that information is available on the evil of government, the the story that you didn't really hear about how the war started and what interests were at play and who benefited and how the people who were responsible still, walked away rich. It's it's a whole different history than they were teaching us.
Oh yeah,
in the
yeah, yeah. Well, and here's the thing: is more than likely we're actually going to be able to witness it take place again, because all indications seem to be pointing that that's exactly what is being set up right now. That there's going to be another massive global conflict, and again, it keeps right in line with the timetable and with the agendas, because again, in order to get your global government, you have to have your global war.
You gotta have your regions.
That's right. That's right. I was listening to the latest Hotep's Been Told You today as I was getting work done, and Hotep Jesus was pointing it out. He was like, it's the exact same playbook. They're running it right now, same as they did back in the 30s. It's exactly the same. It's no different. The only difference is the names have changed. Some of the players have changed, but otherwise it's the exact same fucking playbook. And it is.
I don't know. Do you think America is going to be actually invading anywhere and doing that like Germany did in the in the 40 early or the late 30s?
No, I think Ukraine,
Canada
is taking the place of Germany this time.
I think that's petering out. I think that it's going to be status quo. They're going to give up the territory that they should have given up for the people that they were fucking bombing for no reason. And Zelensky's probably going to get murdered at some point because
that might happen. That might actually be the best thing that could happen, because the longer he lives, the longer it goes on.
The only thing worse than being an enemy of the United States is being their friend when it comes to
exactly. That's what I'm saying. He's following in the footsteps of, Saddam Hussein, Gaddafi,
Noriega,
Noriega, all sorts of folks. The Shah,
Marcos, Pinochet.
I mean, it did not turn out well for any of those gentlemen. None of them. And he just doesn't seem to get it. Either that, or he thinks he's smart enough to make better plays than all of those people did.
Well,
which I don't know how he thinks he's smarter than Gaddafi, but
it's amazing.
Must be the coke.
How exactly how he can come to the White House and be like talking shit, rolling his eyes and shrugging his shoulders, and instead of getting placated, he gets thrown the fuck out. And you got people in the media just totally beside themselves that the war won't go on with our funding.
Yeah.
And the people who were anti-war previously are so bloodthirsty.
I mean, he was so hurt he had to go see the king. He had to appeal to a higher authority.
As much as they've tried to been portraying Russia as the evil boogeyman my whole adult life, like I don't remember any aggressive acts of Russia that weren't justified. I mean, they didn't take over any fucking countries. There was a situation in Crimea, but
we're talking about Russia, not the Soviet Union. Okay.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Russia.
Gotcha.
Russia. Yeah.
Current modern day Russia, not Russia from history. Yeah. Okay. Exactly. All right.
Yeah. I'm not talking about Soviets. I'm talking about Russia, and Ukraine was it was their property. They gave it up after the Soviet Union collapsed. But in the 1600s, that whole area was signed over to them, if you believe in those type of agreements. But they definitely tried to win the propaganda war. There's a lot of minerals in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
The breadbasket of Europe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's probably its more important role.
Seen like what they've done in that war, like all that area that was like farmland. They've used the uranium depleted fucking rounds and totally ruined any chance of growing shit there.
Well,
So
shit.
there's going to be so many long-term repercussions to this whole thing that I don't know. If you didn't think that they were trying to kill a bunch of fucking people, you would think, why would these leaders do such a thing?
Right.
But
Are we still buying Gaza? Is that still on the table? I haven't heard anything about that lately.
I don't know. I think I've told you before. You know, in the last couple of weeks, I've stopped like paying attention.
Oh, that's
to
right. That's right. You did say that. You're probably
I'm
the last
like,
person I should ask.
I'm fucking catching memes to see what the latest news says.
I mean, there's not really anything wrong with that.
There's not much I can take by following the news anymore, is what I found, because everything in the news is like so easy to pick apart from a logical fallacy standpoint, and the pearl clutching and the fake fucking drama that they're trying to create from everything. It's like you just don't have my fucking attention anymore. Like the play got boring. I'm gonna go back and just start worrying about shit that's going to sustain me, and building a connection with other people, because
there you go.
This whole fucking system, it's apt to fail at any point, and all the fucking fake baubles and fucking coins that you have from this system may eventually be worthless. And fake fucking printed money isn't going to feed you if the power's out.
That is a good point.
Maybe for a little bit, until people realize that the system's not coming back. But do you like? I know you said that you thought it was going to be a slow, protracted fucking draw out of this failure of the financial system. Have you changed your mind?
Nope.
Think it's going to be any faster? You still think it's going to be drawn out?
Yep. I think right now what they're doing, especially with probably some of the work that's going on at the Treasury, I think right now what they're doing is they're replacing systems. So the systems that we used to have for, processing transactions and doing all the financial shit that they need to do to make the government work, because they still got to run payroll and do all of that stuff too. They got to interface with the banks, and the banks have to interface with them and all of that shit. That's all getting overhauled right now, and will be for the course of the next 4 years. Maybe a little bit longer, because it's a large process. It's going to take a while.
What happened to the narco dollar? Because that was what the U.S. used to prop up the economy.
Well, that ran the black economy, right?
Yeah. Well, it also ran a lot of the real economy. Once they pushed
because there's a lot of intermixing between the two, the black economy and the white economy.
Well, there's no manufacturing base in your country. Like, what are you actually selling to the world? Some agriculture, but most of the other countries are doing that shit. They've sold a bunch of our farmland. Like, what do you have at that point?
Well, yeah, but we also we don't grow cocaine here. We don't grow poppies here.
They shifted from real opium to synthetic.
To the synthetic shit, because it's cheaper. They can just make it in a lab. They don't have to have a bunch of land. They don't have to have a bunch of people working the land. They don't have to have this whole elaborate fucking grow operation set up. They can just have a couple dudes in a lab cooking the shit up 24/7.
They don't have to have a bunch of U.S. Marines guarding the poppy fields.
Nah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's innovation.
Modern technology.
Yeah. I'm sure Elon probably had something to do with it. Wouldn't fucking surprise me. He's got his finger in like every fucking pie.
I mean, everybody knows a guy has plenty of time to run 6 companies, be an online gamer, and work on government waste at the same time.
He's a prolific tweeter.
Plus having 13 kids and tweeting all the time.
I don't know. How do you have 13 kids and tweet 24 hours a day? How does that work? I'm serious. It's a serious question. I would like to know. I would like to find myself in that position.
You got to stay alert with all those kids, Driz.
Well, yeah. There's 13 of them, man. There's always one behind you. It doesn't matter where you are. You got to watch out for that one.
Yeah, I mean, his grandfather was a eugenicist who became a technocrat or a technocrat eugenicist. I don't know what the fucking mix was, but I know they threw his ass out of Canada for his crazy ideas.
Did they throw him out of Canada?
Yeah, he ended up in South Africa where apartheid ideas and master races were.
Oh, wow. Speaking of, I would imagine you probably didn't hear about the latest developments in South Africa.
No.
Well, circling back to race relations, the darker folks who are currently have control of the government in South Africa are going to begin kicking the white farmers off of their land and taking it from them.
Well, good luck to them.
Yeah,
I mean, it's worked out so well for them in the past with all the people starving to death.
Yeah,
I hope they do better than the fucking communists did when they killed all the factory owners and the farmers. I mean, didn't they do this already?
Yeah, this has already been done before. We've done this many times in history. Apparently, we're doing it again because nobody studies history except me.
And the good news is that they have nukes.
Oh yeah.
And they
but it's Trump's got a plan. He wants to get rid of all the nukes. I guess, I don't know, he's going to shoot them into the sun or something. I'm not sure exactly, but I've heard it's a great plan. It's a beautiful plan.
I mean, isn't that what Superman did?
I think that was what Superman did, as a matter of fact. He took them all and just
he
slung them like a slingshot.
Caught them all in a net and threw them into the sun.
Yeah.
I'm sure the sun wouldn't have any problem with that at all.
Maybe that's what's going to happen. Maybe Trump is going to transform into Superman. Like he's gonna rip open the suit, and there'll be like a big eye on his chest for Israel, and he'll grab all the nukes, fucking chuck them at the sun. Hopefully, there's an illustrator in the audience that was listening to that and creates that. That would be awesome. Please do that.
I just hope that, he's getting older. I'm hoping he's at least coherent for his whole 4 years, and
I think he will be,
and that the fake opposition media just keeps up these like over the top attacks on it, because I mean it's comical, to be honest with you, and the fact that they've got people believe in that shit is even more comical. I'm just on the periphery laughing at people at this point.
So if you're not paying attention to the news anymore, which most folks would probably say can be time consuming depending on how intensive you are with it, what are you doing with all that free time now? You just taking a lot more naps?
Naps, planting my crops out. I've got potatoes, carrots, onions.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Cilantro and scallions going in my basement, waiting for the weather to break to get them outside. But started that stuff back in January, most of it. Damn. And I got 3 new garden beds, 4x8s. I'm going to fill up, give me like 10 total. So we're taking trees down, getting shit done.
Nice.
And I'm also feeling my age because last week I had taken down a couple big trees and we're cutting them up and burning shit, and my back still hurts.
Oh yeah. It takes that is one thing that I've noticed too. It takes a lot longer to heal than what it used to. I think that's part of the whole transition after the age of 40. Because apparently there's like two major physiological transitions that the human body goes through, every human body. And one is like right around age 40 and the other one's right around age 60. I think age 60 is when like the severe muscle loss starts happening. Because like it starts happening a little bit after 40. I've noticed that. One of the reasons why I had to start exercising. Yeah.
Yeah. You got to keep grinding.
Yeah.
You don't have to have that happen. But if you do, things are going to be much worse for you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so, I mean, they're already worse now because I abused my body so much before I was 40. You know, there's shit. I've been dealing with like the last 3 days. I don't know what the hell I did to myself, but like the left side of the back of my neck, I couldn't like turn to the left for a couple of days. And the thing was, I couldn't figure out. I was like, all right, is it bone? Is it muscle? I can't tell. It just, the whole fucking area hurts. I don't know what it was.
Bad night sleeping, usually.
I don't know. But it usually, like when I was younger, okay, that stuff would happen, but then the next day I would be fine. Only this time, the next day I wasn't fine. This is now the third day consecutive that I've been dealing with some sort, some level of pain. It's not as bad as it was at first, but it's still there. I can still feel it.
You're getting old, man.
I know. Fucking sucks.
That's why I tell my girlfriend every time she has a pain somewhere, like, oh, sounds like you got old.
I guess it does happen to all of us eventually.
When you get a random pain in your knee for like a day and it goes away, that was old.
Had that happen earlier today. Yeah. It was only for like 30 minutes though, and then it was gone. I was like, oh, okay, that's not bad.
That happened before I was 40 though. Just get those random pains, last like a whole day. Be like, what the fuck is wrong? And then you wake up the next day and it's gone.
Yeah.
Huh? So I saw something today. Melissa and Aaron Dykes, Truth Stream Media.
Mm-hmm.
They asked if this is going to be the last generation of politicians and that AI is going to take their place. And that's where I saw the 23 senators. Like when she first made the video, there was 6 senators who had said the exact same script with the exact same acting in the video.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time she released the video, it had been 23 senators. And she updated the video through editing the show. It's just like, wow. So now all the senators are doing the old TV thing, the danger to our democracy thing. And is that supposed to make people totally lose confidence? Because it's not like it's a secret. It's easy to find. People are kind of in tune to the whole idea that they are all reading off a script at this point, whether it be politicians or the media.
It would make sense from the standpoint of knowing that that's where things are supposed to be heading, right? Like we're eventually going to get to the point, whether people want to accept it or not, where this, I don't even want to call it a thing, this concept that they keep pushing on us called AI is going to be presented as an integral part of our government. That, I think, is one of the main vectors that they're going to use to basically force it on everybody. Even the people who never want to touch AI ever, like me. I don't ever want to have to deal with the shit for any reason.
Oh, I don't. It's a logic engine.
Well, yeah. But you also, it's probably a lot more valuable to you for the work that you do than it is to me for the work that I do, because I don't see any value in it whatsoever.
Oh, well, the good thing about it is it's a logic engine and that you can test its boundaries by asking it taboo questions and watching it come back with answers that are, aren't accurate, or
Right.
they're trying to redirect you away from it. And you can use logical statements about why they need to answer your question. And the AI will eventually, if you keep doing it, prompting it properly, the guardrails seem to fall off and you can get the answers that you're looking for.
Right. Right. Because they still haven't figured out how to program it
Because they don't
exactly
know,
the way they want it to be.
yeah, they don't know how to control what they think they're controlling, which
Right.
should scare people a little bit.
Well,
And
there's also the law of unintended consequences.
as someone who's been in IT my whole like adult life, like I know there's nobody fucking knows how shit works.
Not completely.
No. It's like you put a bunch of code in and you get your desired result, but you don't know how the fuck it's working.
Right.
In some cases. And that's where they're at. They're putting algorithms together, algebra string equations to try to answer people's questions. And they're trying to censor it at the same time and keep guardrails around it. They've had those things like have people encourage them to kill themselves and encourage them to shoot up schools, kind of thing. Like that's what they're releasing into the wild, thinking that it's a contained entity. Just imagine what they have behind the scenes.
Well, exactly. Imagine what they're about to unleash on the world. These agentic AI, personal companion helper things, or whatever the hell they're going to be.
I mean, I could use a personal helper companion to do all my work for me too, but then I have to figure out how to spend my real time. What am I going to do with the rest of my time?
I don't know. I don't know enough about the nuts and bolts of what they're working with, because it's just never been something that I was attracted to, coding. I tried it. I did try to learn some. I learned some HTML. I knew MS DOS back in the day. There's that won't do shit for me now.
Oh, it's still running off a fucking DOS backbone. So those same commands that you still remember still work.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, I know some of the commands still work, but there is a lot of salesmanship that is happening around the topic of AI in the media sphere, and it's being done by all parties. Because most of the people that are talking about it are in the same position that I'm in, where they don't really know enough about it in order to be knowledgeable. So there's a lot of just like bogative information that's going around about these systems right now. And the only thing that I can see coming from it is disappointment. Because people are putting out all of these promises about what it's going to do and what its potential is. And we've been through this process before where we're given all these promises up front and nobody ever comes through on the back end to fulfill them.
If we're going to be honest, I mean, what they're attempting to do is to make people accept their replacement. That there was like a large
in a
push.
lot of ways, yeah.
There probably still is, where companies will have their staff train their overseas replacement that's going to take it from there, kind of thing, and they give them some bullshit severance and send them on their way to lose their dignity and train their replacement, who's going to work for half as much money. But that seems to be like this whole push is to I don't know how fast it'll go, the whole CBDC, digital ID. You don't really need to work anymore. now we have robots and AI to do all your work for you. So now you just have to be obedient and let us call the masses when it comes. Maybe we'll call it a lottery.
Well, I think there's going to be a few things that happen, and it is going to go pretty quick because, again, a lot of this is expected to be in place by the time we get to 2030. We're already supposed to be entering into the new economic model by the year 2030. Like that's when basically they're going to get that whole side of things started, where we're going to have the digital currencies. We're going to have where you're no longer going to work with other humans. You're going to working with machines and large language models. And maybe you're tapping into, like, if you're a doctor, you're wherever it is that you are in the world, but you're operating on a patient who's on the other side of the planet through an interface. Like that, all of that shit is supposed to be up and running by 2030. That's why they're rolling out the robots now.
I don't know what it's going to be. I think that the people running this shit are incompetent, and they wanted to have this stuff in place in 2020, and they couldn't even do it with COVID. So I think their 2050 goals are probably the 2030 goals are going to get pushed back to 2050.
I don't know. Well, the good thing is we get to watch and we get to document it.
How many million?
I did not think they were going to get to the point that they're at now 3 years ago. I was actually, over the course of the last year, the acceleration that has happened with this technology, or I should say the perceived acceleration, because again, that could all be fake as well. They could have scripted that whole part out too. Like, I don't put that past them at all. I did not see this leap coming in this time period, particularly as far as like the AI is concerned, the autonomous robotry and all of that sort of shit. I thought they were still a good 5 years away, at least, from all of that stuff. No, they're putting robots on the market this year, Rob, that you'll be able to buy and put in your home. It's going to have an autonomous computer in it so that it can run its routines and do its tasks around the house and interface with you and the family in very basic ways. That's coming. We covered it earlier.
Does it look like Megan Fox?
It does not yet.
Damn.
But it does come with a fabric skin, so it should be easy to clean once they've got the Megan Fox models ready.
Oh.
I think I might go with a Poppy model instead myself, but I'm sick. I'm a sick individual.
There's been quite a few movies lately of that kind of sort where the home AI robot assistant turns bad, and one of them has her in it. And of course, she's seductive.
Oh,
and,
yeah. What was the one I saw? Ex Machina.
Yeah, that was pretty creepy too.
Yeah. That was a very, very well done movie.
What was the, things that make it to pop culture all seem to have a point, though. What do you think the point of that was?
What, Ex Machina?
Yeah, because that was kind of a dangers of autonomous machine kind of thing.
I think it was...
It was manipulative. It, fucking trap dude killed him basically because he was going to starve to death. And that.
Well, that's the whole. That goes back to the parable of the frog and the scorpion on the riverbank, right? Scorpion wants to get to the other side of the riverbank, and the frog is like, "I'll take you." But you got to promise not to sting me on the way over, because I know how you guys like to do that to us frogs. And the scorpion's like, no, I promise, it's all good. I want to get to the other side. And the frog's like, all right, so I'll take you then. And they're swimming across the river. Scorpion's on the frog's back halfway across the river. Scorpion stings the frog. And the frog's like, why? You said you weren't going to sting me. Why did you do that? And the scorpion's like, motherfucker, I'm a scorpion. This is what we do. I think that's exactly what Ex Machina was, and I think it was priming the psyche of the masses for what we're experiencing right now and what we're going to be experiencing in the next few years. It's getting the people ready for it.
Cold manipulative AI. Maybe.
Look, we told you up front what the dangers were. Don't come to us now and say we shouldn't have done it. That's exactly what that was.
How many robots per home until they put in the terminate command? You know?
I don't know. Like how many humans can one of them take out before it gets overtaken? I think that's what the equation will be.
I guess so.
Once they're on the positive side, all right, go ahead. I mean, I don't think that that's the play. I think that the robots really are meant more for physical labor and for, more importantly, for doing things that humans aren't capable of doing, like building giant spaceships. Humans aren't too good for that compared with robots. Robots can do it a lot better. Plus, they can probably do it in zero gravity if space is actually a thing.
Well, the stuff that they're developing now can already like design things and come up with better designs than humans. Just based off of all the information that humans feed into it, it can come up with better ideas than the humans have come up with. And many different things, whether it be spaceships or this or that. So it begs the fucking question, like, how do you trust it? At what point do you turn stuff over to it? Do you turn stuff over to it? Does human creativity get lost? And we become, I mean, currently, I know personally, like, things that my parents' generation did, whether it be farming, canning stuff, like things that their parents passed on to them, that shit's gone, man. People aren't doing that stuff anymore. Like,
all it took was 2 generations.
Yeah. I still remember my mom canning shit, so I know how to do it myself. But my kids are just now, at this point in their lives, watching me do stuff like that.
Good.
So it is good, but at the same time, it's just crazy how fast those skills of self reliance have like disappeared. It's like if you don't get it in a can from the store, and there's some kind of disruption, you're beat.
Yeah, pretty much. Which again is why I always, just kind of always keep an eye out for like anything that looks like it may be a major event in this country. Because anything that shuts down the supply chains for even a couple of days, where we are right now is especially like even here down in little old Jasper. Going out, getting the few things that I need from various retail establishments around here, the shelves are starting to thin out.
I've seen that happen a few times, and then they fill back up again.
Well, we'll see.
Most of the shit that's disappearing isn't stuff that you want to eat anyway.
Well, true. But what that shows me is that at least for this region of the country, supply is starting to get low. And just like you say, when it comes to a major city, you make a major city go without supplies for 72 hours. You might not have a very pretty scene at the end of those 72 hours.
Yeah, most people in the city, get their food on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Or a couple day basis. Because, the whole thing is when you're in the city, there's no cars that you can pack a bunch of groceries in. You generally go to the grocery store and then get bags and take as much as you can carry from the store to your house or your apartment, whatever it is. So you're not really generally going to have a whole bunch of stuff on hand in case you don't have a fresh supply for a week or two.
Yeah. Again, depending on the city, some are a little bit more spread out than others, but yeah,
Hey,
like New York.
If you're one of those cities like Manhattan where you got to take a bridge to get in and out, or a tunnel, and they can keep you in or out by blocking that shit, good luck.
No, we're going to get to the point where whatever this thing is that they're calling AI is going to become a part of governance. All right. Whether or not it ever officially becomes a part of government, it will become a part of the policy process. Probably already has.
I was about to say,
as far as I can tell.
What are the odds that we're already living in that reality and that they've already...
I would say they're good. I would say they are very good. And we've probably been in it maybe about a decade at this point.
And that would not surprise me as well, because of the way that this whole left-right thing has been played amongst the general populace in the last 10 years. It wouldn't surprise me, because most of the people who are involved, like the actual people, they're not all that fucking bright.
No, not at all.
And to think that they have these master fucking plans that they're executing or reading a script from somebody else is more likely.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what I think it is. These people, again, they're actors. They're the ones who are meant to go in front of the camera, and we attach our emotions to them, and the drama plays out in real life, and everybody has lives happily ever after and what the fuck ever. But they're being fed scripts. They're being fed their cues when they need to go and perform. They don't have any advanced knowledge of anything. It's the people who are feeding them their scripts that are actually running things and making the decisions. And we don't know who most of those people are, although we found out apparently who some of them were in the Biden regime, which I thought was quite interesting that they dropped that bombshell on the nation so soon after they were out of office. Like I heard people straight up saying, yeah, Susan Rice was running shit in the Biden administration.
Really?
Yeah, it was Susan Rice. I can't remember. It was basically like a little committee. It was a committee of about 5 people, but Susan Rice was one of the people.
I just saw something today about how the auto signature was used more than any other president. It's like, did anybody really think that guy was coherent? That's the thing that
did anybody think that guy was really Joe Biden?
That too, but I mean, if you just want to get to the base of it and not go into something that's kind of obvious, but that the general person isn't going to believe that they had multiple versions of them, but just what they presented, no matter what version, in front of the people, and just kept showing for years, to the point that the motherfucker announced he was running for re-election when nobody even thought he was there doing the job in the first fucking place. And the people who were stuck in that partisan left-right fucking divide, the left-wingers particularly, they just were attached to that. And as soon as they shifted overnight to Kamala, they were all right on board with that stuff. It's like, what kind of thinking do you do? What kind of like thinking process leads you to that?
Well,
And
yeah, I think it was all a setup.
and what they did is they just I've heard this from so many people who used to consider themselves left wingers, how all of this stuff that they were doing on the left wing with their power, turned them to the fucking right. And the never Trumpers, some of them turned into Trumpers because they saw how fucking horrible the other side
Damn,
was.
now that's some fucking alchemy right there.
Yeah.
Let me get some of that shit.
When you don't need to throw the election because you got enough people to willingly go out and vote that way.
Yeah.
Easy peasy.
That's what I think all of that stuff was. Because it was like every step of the way, the Democrats were just kneecapping themselves over and over and over again.
Well, they took their 18th most popular candidate from the previous election and just thrust her into the spotlight with no primary as the one, and then had her go make a fool of herself and have the media go out of their way to try to make her look good, but at the same time let everybody know that they've gone out of their way to make her look good, so you know that it's not authentic and on purpose. Like they did that shit on purpose to get this result where the guy who's unorthodox is supposedly throwing the whole system for a loop, and we should all be scared. Now this rational AI bot is going to come and take over.
Yes, and we're going to call him Gavin Newsom.
Didn't Trump, predict this might be the last presidential election before he got elected?
Was it this one or was it the last one? Because I thought he was saying that the 2020 election was going to be the last election ever because they were not going to do another one in 2024. They would not allow him to win the office again.
That could be true, but I think it might have been after 2020.
I mean, there's been a lot of people that have predicted that there's never going to be another election, and we keep having elections because people keep going out and voting.
It's the grandstanding that they do every time, and you saw it during COVID. The supposed freedom-based, senators or Congress people on the right were up there grandstanding, talking all this shit on Fauci while he's testifying and catching him lying under oath, and nothing was ever fucking done. They could drag him up right now for contempt of Congress for the stuff that is, clearly he lied about, that they've, now all of a sudden, even though the evidence was there back then, now they're letting the mainstream accept that.
Well, he's got a pardon now, so it doesn't matter.
Not for the states, though. The states could all drag him in, and
they won't.
They won't. But
states get funding from the federal government. They won't bite the hand that feeds. That's why that whole system was set up, in order to take the state's power away from them. Okay, you want your state's rights? Well, you don't need any more money then.
Well, I remember back when I was younger that's how they enforced a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit throughout the nation during, coming out of the...
One of the ways, yeah.
Yeah, coming out of the late 70 energy embargo that OPEC did on the U.S. I remember as a little kid when I would be at my grandmother's house, there would be like a line of people waiting to get gas, like all the way down the street in front of her house, which is about a quarter mile from the gas station. But people would be there in line, and you could only get gas on one day if you had odd license plate ending, or the next day if it was even.
Yeah, that was back in the 70s. I don't remember that. Like I don't remember that part of it. I don't know if I was a part of getting gas in one of the cars during that time or not.
I don't remember from getting gas. I just remember from being at her
Right.
house and seeing it. And there was like a 7-Eleven right next to that gas station that we'd go buy candy at. So we would just say it.
Dude, 7-Eleven was the shit back in the day. We had in the neighborhood that I was born in, like right down the hill from it was a little strip mall, and right on the corner there was a 7-Eleven. So you just ride your bike right down the hill, bam, there you are, heaven.
At the 7-Eleven,
That's
Slurpee, microwave pretzels.
Damn
They had
right.
the whole gamut.
And they had a dig dug machine. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, they always had something there.
Yeah. Kids today just don't know, man. They don't know.
Nah, they got a little slab in their hand, the fondle slab, as Corbett calls it, that has everything that you could ever imagine. I couldn't imagine growing up with today's modern cell phone, having games and all the information. Like, I try not to touch it as much as I can, but just the whole concept that if I can't remember something or don't know it, and I can look it up in seconds and come up with information, as long as it's not of a controversial nature.
Yeah.
Because
even if it is.
I was just showing my 20-year-old son and my girlfriend last night. I looked up, you know how RFK Jr. came out and made a statement about the anti-Semitism being a public health emergency.
Oh, did he really? Well, here we go.
He did. And, you know, somebody posted like his social media post is how I saw it. And so I looked it up on Google. RFK Jr. anti-Semitism speech was the search that I put in. And it came up with every mainstream smear on RFK Jr. about his stances on vaccines and that COVID and this and that. And like the whole first page had nothing to do with anti-Semitism and RFK Jr. other than maybe one article accusing him of anti-Semitism. So then I did a Yandex search side by side, and the first return on that search with the same exact term was HHS Secretary RFK Jr. says anti-Semitism is a public health emergency. So it gives me like an article that shows me where he said that. And every article in the first page all had something to do with RFK Jr. and anti-Semitism, because that was in my search term, but not in Google. Google just wanted to smear anything that was associated with that guy.
Let's see. I actually just pulled up the page from hhs.gov. Let's see. I'm trying to see if I can get it. There we go. Bam. HHS to ED and GSA, General Services Administration. Ooh. Announce additional measures to end anti-Semitic harassment on college campuses.
Thank God.
You dirty children.
Don't Jewish people only make up like 1% of the U.S. population?
Is it even that much? I think it's like 3%, maybe something like that.
Even
it's
if
not
it is,
much.
Even if it is, what kind of anti-Semitic problems are being caused on campuses?
Holy shit! Listen to this rhetoric, Rob, and this is apparently coming straight from the horse's mouth, from Bobby the J himself. Anti-Semitism, like racism, is a spiritual and moral malady that sickens societies and kills people with lethalities comparable to history's most deadly plagues. That does not sound like a proclamation from somebody following the science.
That doesn't sound like somebody who's running the HHS. Like,
Exactly.
What does that have to do with health and human services? And
that's wild. I'll drop that in the notes.
And censoring your opposition. I think everybody kind of acknowledges at this point, nobody who's ever had to censor information has been the good guy ever in history, ever.
Well, it's like name the last time that the people burning the books were the good guys.
Well, if you read up on the idiots on the internet, the Nazis, they weren't burning books with information. Like, even though we know they were just burning pornography and, stuff like that. That's what they were burning.
Oh, dude, the Nazis were doing all sorts of shit.
Yeah, they were changing history. They were doing false flags. They were turning neighbors against neighbors through informant fucking networks.
Mm-hmm.
They were doing everything that they'd fucking have wet dreamed to do here.
Well, but it's everything that they continued doing after the war when they came over and became the CIA and NASA and all of that shit.
Yeah, I mean,
they just continued on with the same program.
The Fourth Reich.
Hmm? Yeah, the Nazis did not lose World War II. Germany and Japan did.
Absolutely.
The Nazis won.
That's the way I say it.
Yeah.
From all the history that I've read that isn't censored by the mainstream.
I mean, if you look at all the people who were attached to the Third Reich from other countries, people like Alan Dulles, people like all of the international bankers, like all the shit's been documented. I don't have to say it every single time. All the people that were connected to that, who then went into prominent positions in government, in law, in industry, all across the board. Like, I don't see how it could be denied at this point. Basically, we took the entire brain trust of the Nazi regime and split it down the middle between the United States and the Soviet Union. Sent half off to one, half off to the other, and they just kept right on working.
Well, at that point in the United States in the 30s, before Germany became Nazi, fascism was an acceptable thing, and there was people openly advocating for it.
Yep.
And what they didn't realize is we were already living pretty much under a fascist system, because the Rockefellers, the Carnegies, the Mellons, and the Fords, and all those other robber barons had already established a corporate entity that was, dictating what the government was doing. So to think that now it's different and nothing's changed, but it's different now.
Well, that was I think that was the whole reason for, like, what we saw at the turn of the 20th century, right? Where we had the introduction of the Federal Reserve and the institution of the Internal Revenue Service with the income tax and all of those things. Like, we started seeing the planks from the Communist Manifesto coming into reality in the United States literally at the beginning of the 20th century, because what they were setting up was essentially a hybrid system where you'd have fascism for the ruling class, because they were going to be the ones transiting back and forth between business and government. And then for everybody else, the peasants, you have socialism or communism.
Hey, 10 pairs of shoes for 10 people, no more, no less.
That's right.
That's real socialism, but it didn't work out so well in the Soviet Union. But
I don't think it worked out too well here either.
Fortunately for them, they had a second experiment going over in China, where they allowed the rich people to stay rich, and if you're innovative enough in the closed system, you can be privileged as well. But everybody else is peasants. We'll make sure you're working.
I think it's not altogether that different here now. It may not be as strict as what it is in China, but I can see it going that way. Again, going back to the whole China is going to be the model for the rest of the world, coming straight out of the mouth of Klaus Schwab.
Well, the currency in this country has devalued so quickly. Like when I was a teenager, it was $3.35 was the minimum wage.
Mm-hmm.
What's it now? Like $15 an hour in most parts.
I have no clue. I honestly have no clue.
Something ridiculous like that.
It's
substantially different.
I know when it comes to minimum wage, the federal government can set a standard, but I believe a state still has the ultimate say on it. Like I think the federal has to be the minimum, but a state can still make it whatever they want to. So if they want to make it $5 higher than the federal standard, they can do that. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's been a while since I've had to look at that shit.
Good for you. You don't want to be working for minimum wage.
I don't want to be working for a wage, period. That is slavery. In this world, that is slavery. Working for a wage.
Unless it's your business and you're making profit off of other people's wage, then you're the slave. And even then, running the business, you're still pretty much a slave because you're paying a large percentage of your money. Unless you have some kind of corporate tax breaks, you're paying like 40-50% of your money to the state and federal government for your business. So good luck with that small business.
Yeah. And if you're involved in the business of selling it all, then you're also having to collect sales tax to send off to the state as well.
Yeah, being
so
an
they
agent
got you there too.
Working for the state for free again.
Yep.
Yeah, it's amazing how many ways that they have, and they just invent new ones all the time. Now that they've allowed everybody to have legal marijuana in their states, now they're just taxing the shit out of that, and instead of all the revenue from catching people smoking or in possession and putting them through the whole court system,
they figured out how to get that money by legalizing it.
To figure out how to get more money by legalizing it than they were getting by catching people.
That's right.
So
that is the new world.
You're free. You're free now.
That's right. That's probably the best place to leave it. It's that was a hell of a conversation, Rob. Thanks for hanging it out. We will be back on Tuesday night, ladies and gentlemen. Spring break does not start for a couple more weeks, but we will play your requests on Tuesday. Get them in the meantime. Good night, everybody.
Peace.